Nobody bats 300 anymore because the value of hitting a fly ball, which could eventually become a home run, is so much more valuable. It's when the shift in the NBA went from 2-pointers to 3-pointers. Well, if I can make 40% of my threes, I'm just going to jack threes all over the place. There's more value in that. Well, there's more value in just like ripping driver most of the time.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave. Yep. He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those two games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports.
GameTime decisions. We're live on SportsGrid on a Friday night. Great to see you here. Kevin Walsh, live from the decisions desk. You might think, okay, Dubs, I love the maroon. You're probably not thinking that, but you should be. Because it's Iona Maroon. All I can think about is the Gales tomorrow in Madison Square Garden against St. John's, catching 26 and a half. You might think to yourself, that is not the biggest game tonight, because it's not tonight, or tomorrow. And you would be wrong. It's the biggest game tonight. It's the biggest game tomorrow. I absolutely cannot wait. Did this number move against me? Is this thing 27 and a half right now? Stop the presses. I mean, you hold on now, all right? Because this is information that I think is pertinent to everybody. Oh, there's 27 and a halves out there in some spots. Wow. We'll take a challenge. We'll take a challenge. We got ourselves a busy yet enjoyable night ahead of us, though. The college action tonight is headlined by number 5 UConn playing host to the Texas Longhorns. It is in Connecticut. It's not in stores. It's in Hartford. It's still quite the trip for the Longhorns. I'll be in the mix with this game tonight. Heck, why not? Give the people a little treat here. It's nearly Christmas. Give me UConn team total over 79 and a half. I really like this spot for the Huskies. Their out-of-conference schedule has featured really, really good defenses from Arizona to Kansas, BYU, even Florida and Illinois can really defend. Texas is a big step down defensively. I think the Huskies are well over 80 in this basketball game, where they're playing a team who, again, have not played this caliber of competition yet in terms of offensive efficiency, which what UConn brings, and they're allowing over 73 points per game. I like this spot here for the Huskies offense. That's your ranked college action tonight. NBA is really going to have to pick up the slack here on this Friday, and it's a bigger slate. It's not a great slate. There are some interesting, unique spots. First time this year, Tyrese Maxey misses a game for the Philadelphia 76ers with an illness. Joel Embiid is not going to miss this game. So it is the first time this season Joel Embiid is playing without Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid, obviously a one-time MVP, who on a per-minute basis is basically a point a minute. His prop tonight, 22.5. I don't know, like it's on the board. Embiid goes off for 30. That's possible, right? They're still 5.5-point favorites against a pretty bad Pacers team. I think that's a really interesting spot on the NBA slate. A little bit later tonight, the Wolves go to Golden State. No Anthony Edwards. Yes, Steph Curry. Ant is going to miss a game due to a foot soreness. Steph Curry is back for the first time in weeks. Very interesting spot. Golden State, a 4.5-point favorite. It's an interesting one. The number looks a little light on Golden State, but I think you have, and it's tough, right? With some of these injuries, you don't get clean word on these minutes restrictions. What's Embiid play tonight? What's Steph play tonight? How about Ja Morant? Ja Morant, first time back in a long time tonight. I'm backing Ja over 6.5 assists up against the Utah Jazz. I think it's a really good number. Big time total. 243.5. Ja just, removing the game that he left with, playing only 6 minutes with injury. He had hit it in 9 in a row. I think even if he plays condensed minutes tonight, he can get over that assist prop. I like the number for Ja at 6.5. But what does the workload look like? Is it worth chasing alls, 10+, double-double, points plus assists? These are interesting options here on a Friday night, and we're going to continue to work through all of these. I do really like the matchup between Atlanta and Detroit. We'll expand on that momentarily. It is a Friday night, though, so we're, of course, going to be hopping around and getting you ready for this weekend. And this weekend, not one but two college football games. I don't fully understand why Washington versus Boise State, the LA Bowl, is happening on Saturday. I don't know if there was a realization that everybody clearing out for Navy versus Army was unnecessary, but, we get two games. And, of course, that still means you have Army-Navy. Navy, a 6.5-point favorite, a classic Service Academy total of 38.5. So there's some college football you can sink your teeth into. There's tons of college football news to sink your teeth into. We are still following the Michigan search. The news that continues to come out around Sharon Moore is awful, as his coaching career is over and looks like he may legitimately spend time in prison. Not the only big-time program, though, to lose their coach. Kyle Whittingham, longtime head coach of the Utah Utes, steps down. Utah also, if I am not mistaken, just struck a deal that's going to see a ton of money hit that program. So do the Utes, what's their thought process in terms of getting a coach? How quick do they want to act? I will just say this, because we're going to have Coach Bowden on tonight, so I'm curious Coach's thoughts. This is my belief, though. What do you think out there, you the viewer, is the best job in the NFL? The number one job you could possibly have? I think there's some argument that the answer is, coaching a Mahomes, a Josh Allen type of thing, right? Well, if you think it's coaching Josh Allen, guess what? Sean McDermott might get fired at the end of this Buffalo Bills season. When you land at one of these college football programs and you're able to put up consistent results, you can stay there forever. We're talking decade, plural sometimes, of security. Marcus Freeman can be at Notre Dame until he no longer wants to be at Notre Dame. Lane Kiffin could have been at Ole Miss until he no longer wanted to be at Ole Miss. There is some level of winning that has to be done, but when you hit that mark, you're good. You're good. And the way college is changing, there are GMs now, and I don't know, I think there's a lot of intrigue. I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better. And that's not a slight to the Giants at all. At all. I just think, the Michigan job is a better job. That's how I see it. That's at least me. So we'll talk a little college football. Of course, we'll be talking NFL. We've got our Friday 5, our GTD State University. We're mixing in a little college hoops this week, though, because it's, we're starting to turn the calendar a little bit. You will never be able to guess what my GTD State University is. There's some interesting NFL news. Of course, we always try and follow the Friday injuries. T. Higgins out with another concussion. That's super unfortunate. That's definitely going to bang up Cincinnati a little bit in that game, though. When they beat Baltimore in Baltimore, T. Higgins didn't play in that game. TJ Watt's going to miss the Pittsburgh game against Miami. Not great. I feel like a lot of people already thought that could be upset alert watch, and now without Watt, we know that typically that is just not a they're just not the same whenever TJ isn't out there. And they don't look the same with TJ out there, right? And even the fallout from Atlanta Tampa Bay last night. The Bucs have collapsed. And there's no nice way to say that. If the Panthers win their next 2 games, the NFC South is over before week 17. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I think there's a strong argument Carolina should actually be booked as favorites in that division right now. So we're going to get into all that here tonight. We've got ourselves just a fantastic card. Best bets, everything still to come. Keep it right here. It's a Friday night on Game Time Decisions.
Massive budget down there in LSU, no doubt about it, Joe. But
I just want to bring in, he's very close to Eddie O, too.
Yeah.
And Eddie O, potentially, it said he would, love a return. You bring that type of talent, another major recruiter.
Yes.
And Ed Ogeron back to Baton Rouge. You're going to have a fantastic NFL caliber type of staff, and they're going to hit the ground running week number 1 come 2026.
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
I think this is a very tough one. I haven't bet this because I still think it's that close. I would lean towards the sentiment of the voter body instead of the anointing of the new star. But at a certain point, the next 2 weeks, Drake May could be undeniable. It's really interesting market right for those two. And remember when Matthew Stafford wasn't going to play all year? Remember in August where he wasn't practicing and now he is number 2 for MVP. So go figure.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
You're legendary. I'm legendary. And both of these guys love each other. Right? Cam Ward, they do. They work out. They work out. Legendary.
Go ahead.
Cam Ward.
Yep.
Shador Sanders.
Yep.
250 plus and 2 tutties each.
Amazing. That's nuts.
What? Why is it nuts?
Come on, that's crazy.
Why, though?
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
We just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
All right, live on Sports Grid, it is Game Time Decisions, and we're going to go through some of the best bets here on this Friday night. I think it's a really fun slate for us to dive our teeth into, and you get a lot of odds boosts nowadays on these Fridays, so I want to try and work through a couple of these options here with the people. I'll start this off, though, just by running through this best bet card. We'll start actually at the bottom where AJ is going to play the under in Texas UConn. I'm not mad at it. I actually lean UConn on that big-time number. I think that they've almost been due for a bit of a blowout, if you will. But I'm more focused on their team total because I want to fade the Texas defense. I almost feel as if, again, trying to, read AJ's mail a little bit. I think he's probably backing the UConn defense here in this game. I think there's a way we both get to what we are rooting on. I prefer the team total. He's playing a full game under. Yarnelli's been just all over the college basketball board. You never know where he's going outside of likely not one of the ranked matchups tonight. Though, with only one ranked matchup, you knew that was a safe bet. He'll take Eastern Washington plus 3.5 tonight. And then you get an AI-generated Casino Chris best bet. Chris was really... Look, Chris is out on assignment. So we had a bot put together a best bet. Here is what I would say, and credit to Chris. He would never send in something like that, because that's terrible. We may want to we may want to fade that. 3 guys minus 166. He probably. Here's the thing though. He tunes in. He might be like, "Wow, I'm so sharp," and he might back it, throw a boost on it if possible. I'm playing a combo prop. That should be 16.5 assists. I might have inputted a little bit wrong, but it's Jalen Johnson and Cade Cunningham to combine for over 16.5 assists tonight. They're playing one another in the game between Detroit and Atlanta. Each guy had 12 assists in each of their last 2 games, and I know sometimes I look for the bounce back spot. I think these just are 2 guys playing the game at a super high level, and I think both could get to 10. I think both are live for triple doubles, double doubles here within this basketball game. So I'm happy to play it this way with the combination prop there. I think that game they just played, a little over a week ago. Neither team got to 100. I think this is an inverse look at the game. Both teams may be 115 plus. I like this spot here tonight. So give me Jalen Johnson and Cade Cunningham over 16.5 assists combined. And that is where we are set up tonight, NBA and college basketball. Let's turn the page over to college football, though, and let's do it with the help, of course, of legendary head coach Terry Bowden. Coach, it is always great to get to talk to you here before some of these big games, but we also have big news. And the big news this week out of Michigan comes with a level of seriousness that we don't always get when a coach is let go. Sometimes, guy just doesn't win enough. The Sharon Moore absence, though, still needs to be filled. And this is a major, major program now with a major, major vacancy. What are your thoughts about this Michigan job being open right now, so late in the process as well?
Well, it's such a tragedy because even the head coach's side, so many people and lives have been affected, and it's got to be a tough situation. I hope the head coach is going to be okay. I hope things work out for him personally. But Michigan is Michigan. It's a great job. They need to wait. Don't be in a hurry. Don't rush. They've made some bad mistakes. They've got a bad rep. People are wondering if there's any institutional control. Were these things going on there that they were aware of and not talking about or covering up? They've had penalties by the NCAA. They've now got a coach that's been dismissed. They've got plenty of coaches that would love to have that job. It's a great job. I just think now they got to make sure, do we touch the NFL? Do we go after somebody that we can get them because we have one of the premier jobs? And so I think it's one of those things that they just need to now gather themselves and don't worry so much about what happens next week. Go out there and find the best coaches. I promise you there will be a long list of outstanding coaches that want to go in there and turn that and get that program straightened out.
And I imagine this is a situation, though, Coach, right? It's such a new environment where Michigan probably would love a month to figure this out. They probably don't have a month. They have one of the most prolific young quarterbacks in the country in terms of, hype, and we know NIL with Bryce Underwood. Michigan likely has to give him, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe the money took care of it already, but maybe they need to give him some security as to who his head coach is going to be next season.
Well, I don't think they need to pause forever to find a coach. I think there's going to be a lot of great coaches that will want to coach there. I think someone needs to sit down with him and make sure he knows that there's not a place in America that's going to give him a better NIL situation. He's already a starter there, but he's got to see the uncertainty. He's got to wonder what is the future there. So I think they just need to focus on getting the right head coach. They're in a real transitional phase of their program right now where they've got to get this thing right. They went through kind of a mess even with their championship team under Harbaugh and the things that went on in the stealing signals and the lack of institutional control. At least that's what everybody said. And so I really think they need to get the right coach in there. I think it doesn't have to be very long, but they don't need to jump at the gun and say, I'm going to just find some way to put a finger in the dike, because, again, they've got to get the right guy. I think the quarterback, he'll have an opportunity to stay or leave, whether they take a week or 2 weeks, but it can't be too much longer.
And we're going to talk to Coach about some of the games on Saturday, some of the early outlook for the college football playoff. But, Coach, I do want to quickly, before we hit this first break here, news out of Utah that Kyle Whittingham is going to step down. Now, that's another proud program. Those are big shoes to fill, though, Coach. That's my thought, because Whittingham has been in Utah for 2 decades now.
Yeah, that's a real tough, hard job, because of the unbelievable job he's done there over a long period of time. And they have a culture there that he is responsible for a lot of it. It's been the Utah way, but it's his way. And so they've got to give that some thought now, too, in regard to that one. And, again, you're not going to bring in another him, but you've got to find someone that could come in and make that transition smooth. I would not be shocked if it wasn't a Utah player, maybe a guy that played for him. Somewhere along the line, they can get some continuity going in the style of coaching that he had.
Yeah, we are going to talk about some of the early outlook for the college football playoff, as well as, of course, tomorrow's game between Army and Navy with Coach Terry Bowden after this break right here on SportsGrid.
Massive budget down there in LSU, no doubt about it, Joe. But
I just want to bring in, he's very close to Eddie O, too.
Yeah.
And Eddie O, potentially, it said he would, love a return. You bring that type of talent, another major recruiter.
Yes.
And Ed Ogeron back to Baton Rouge. You're going to have a fantastic NFL caliber type of staff, and they're going to hit the ground running week number 1 come 2026.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I think this is a very tough one. I haven't bet this because I still think it's that close. I would lean towards the sentiment of the voter body instead of the anointing of the new star. But at a certain point, the next 2 weeks, Drake May could be undeniable. It's really interesting market right for those two. And remember when Matthew Stafford wasn't going to play all year? Remember in August where he wasn't practicing, and now he is number 2 for MVP. So go figure.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
You're legendary. I'm legendary. And both of these guys love each other. Right? Cam Ward, they do. They work out. They work out. Legendary.
Go ahead.
Cam Ward.
Yep.
Shador Sanders.
Yep.
250 plus and 2 tutties each.
Amazing. That's nuts.
What? Why is it nuts?
Come on, that's crazy.
Why, though?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you here on a Friday night. We've got a lot of great games coming up tonight. But of course, tomorrow, all eyes likely will be on Army-Navy every single week. Standalone, no other games are on. You'd actually have a game late night between Washington and Boise. But, Coach, I want your thoughts on this matchup here. It's always super interesting, right? These two offenses have been good throughout this season, but it's a low total because that's what these games usually look like, 6.5-point spread. What do you make of this one?
One of my favorite games. I got to broadcast this game 5 or 6 times when I was working for ABC. It was always late in the season when I had a time away from the studio, but it's always different. These two teams, this is a Super Bowl. Nothing comes close. A bowl game, a conference championship, nothing means more to these two programs than winning this football game. It is critical. It means everything. And they both run the option, the running the attack, the triple option, and they know each other. Yeah, I can almost guarantee an under. The 38.5 is so low, but that's more points than were scored in 8 of the last 10 games they played against each other. We're below that total because they know how to defend each other. They go out there and put a lot of points on that team and this team, but when they play each other, first of all, they run the ball. You've got one that has the most running plays per game in Army. You've got the longest or the most yardage run per game in Navy, and they're going to run that clock, and it's going to be a great game. They know each other well. Navy's just got probably a little more veteran quarterback, a better football team, and so I like Navy by 7. I think they can take. I think that Navy can cover in this game, but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it play out, as always. And then we get ready to watch the college football playoff. You're actually a week away from the opening game, which will be Oklahoma against Alabama. And, I entered into the selection show thinking that this game was going to be Oklahoma against Notre Dame. Instead, Notre Dame's not in the field. Coach, I haven't been able to speak to you kind of since that all played out. Were you surprised with what the committee ultimately settled on with Alabama and Miami in, Notre Dame out?
No, a couple of things. They could not knock a team out like Alabama for losing the SEC championship. They were way ranked high. They lost the championship game. It would make it an injustice to play some of the best teams in the country before you even have the first round and knock them out. So that was the first problem they dealt with. They had to look at a 3-loss team. Secondly, once Duke won the game, I almost said, you know what? They're not going to let the ACC go without having a team in. That Miami is going to jump over Notre Dame. First of all, they beat them head-to-head. But then they had to have an ACC team because of the politics behind the behind the curtain politics that goes on. So Notre Dame is just the worst thing that could have happened for Notre Dame. But I'll say this, Notre Dame needs to take it like a man. Quit complaining and pouting. You lost 2 games. You choose not to be in a conference. If you go join the ACC and win the ACC championship, and we won't have this argument. But anyway, they were a deserving team, but so is Miami. I think that's going to be an argument. The bigger question is, do we need to be including group of 5 into these top 10, 12 if we really want to have the best 12 teams?
Yeah, it's interesting though, Coach, right? Because you say we can't punish Alabama. I mean, they got dominated in that game. Why are we playing that game then, Coach? If we're not allowed to evaluate it, then what is the point of the football game?
Well, you got to deal with those people now. The SEC is a very strong conference, and their people carry a lot of weight. So it's not like they didn't know what the right thing to do was. I'm with you. I don't think that was necessarily the best thing. The right thing to do is putting Alabama and not taking Notre Dame. But dealing with these conferences and how powerful they are. Alabama is a powerful school too. And so you had to answer some questions of, hey, we can't go to the conference championships and then have you lose it to one of the best teams in the country. So you basically played the best team in the country in the first round of the playoffs, because that's all it turned up in. So they've got to pick some of these things. We've got a situation where you got a group of 5 and Power 4. You got half the league is different than the other half. They're not as good. You got a bowl situation that was always a part, and we've been very loyal to those bowls, but where do they fit in anymore? And I promise you this, because I've coached at every level and I've been in a lot of playoffs. Every year there's going to be a number 16, 15, or 14 unhappy. We're going to all argue about it because it's never quite one way. There's a great argument for Notre Dame. There's a great argument for Miami. And there is a great argument. There's probably a pretty good argument for Alabama.
Yeah, all in all, I think you are right, though. The politics of it all really kind of ruled the day in that room. Coach, always great to catch up. We will check in throughout the college football playoff. NFL insider Adam Kaplan joins us next.
Thank you now.
massive budget down there in LSU, no doubt about it, Joe. But
I just want to bring in, he's very close to Eddie O, too.
Yeah.
And Eddie O potentially had said he would, love a return. You bring that type of talent, another major recruiter.
Yes.
And Ed Ogeron back to Baton Rouge. You're going to have a fantastic NFL caliber type of staff, and they're going to hit the ground running week number 1 come 2026.
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
I think this is a very tough one. I haven't bet this because I still think it's that close. I would lean towards the sentiment of the voter body instead of the anointing of the new star. But at a certain point, the next 2 weeks, Drake May could be undeniable. It's really interesting market right for those two. And remember when Matthew Stafford wasn't going to play all year? Remember in August where he wasn't practicing, and now he is number 2 for MVP. So go figure.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
You're legendary. I'm legendary. And both of these guys love each other. Right? Cam Ward, they do. They work out. They work out. Legendary.
Go ahead.
Cam Ward.
Yep.
Shador Sanders.
Yep.
250 plus and 2 tutties each.
Amazing. That's nuts.
What? Why is it nuts?
Come on, that's crazy.
Why, though?
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
We just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Game Time Decisions. We're live with you on a Friday night. A quick reminder of our best bets here on this Friday. I'm going to play the combination of assists for Jalen Johnson and Cade Cunningham at 16.5. It's minus 116 over on DraftKings in that head-to-head player prop menu there. Our AI-generated best bet for Casino Chris with a couple of guys. They hit a couple of threes, well, actually all just to make one. Yarnell's going to back Eastern Washington plus 3.5. Texas UConn under the 145.5. We'll continue to follow all of this action, but we also want to get you ready for everything that is still to come this weekend. It's why we bring in NFL insider Adam Kaplan. And Cap, before we get to the weekend, though, last night the Bucs suffered what could be the single worst, the most costly loss of any team in the NFL this season. If the Carolina Panthers win their next 2 football games, of course the second being against Tampa Bay, the division is over. Before week 17, that was, and this has just felt like a real collapse here, Cap, for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's stunning. I'll admit, I thought they would have no problem last night against a struggling Atlanta team with a struggling quarterback, Kirk Cousins, mostly struggling. But he played a great game. I mean, it's amazing. The last 2 games he's had against the Bucs, he's crushed them, thrown for nearly 900 yards. So, it was just one of those games you just couldn't see. And by the way, they got Mike Evans back, which was huge. And they had a couple players get hurt in the game, which didn't help them in their secondary. But this is a game they shouldn't have struggled. Todd Bowles is a really good coach. There's no question. He's done a great job there. So I'm not suggesting that anything's wrong there with him, but he kind of let it loose. He protected his coaches and said it's about time that the players step up and execute. That usually I don't see that, Kevin. I thought that was surprising what he said after the game. That kind of stunned me, to be honest with you, with Coach Bowles. He doesn't usually do stuff like that. And he's frustrated. They should not be struggling to win this division. The division should be theirs. Yes, they've had a number of injuries on both sides of the football. The thought around the league, though, coming into the season was that they'd be somewhere between 10 and 12 wins. They're 7-6, and the Panthers are coming off their bye. And look, I honestly, when you look at the Panthers situation, they shouldn't lose on Sunday to the Saints. We know what the Saints did in Tampa. But the home and road splits for Young, where Bryce Young are significant. He's much better at home than on the road. You should know that.
Yeah.
But overall, this division should not be as close as it is to move this along here.
But you're right, Cap. But I think we all know what happens when a team has a season like this. And I think you're really on it, though, to say that Bowles took the chance, not the chance, but he put it back at the players, right? But it's far more likely that Bowles won't be there than, a lot of other guys. Would you say Todd Bowles' job will be on the line if they end up not making the postseason?
I would be surprised, but we use this term
Interesting.
on watch. Yeah, here's why. He's been, look, they've dominated division for many years. Okay, Saints they used to when Drew Brees was there. They don't anymore. They're the kings of the division. I mean, you go back to when Brady was there. After Brady, they've been pretty dominant. Baker Mayfield's been a great story. But the way it works is, in my 27 years of covering this business, if you don't meet expectations, you're now on watch the next season.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. When you don't meet expectations, and the expectations around the league were they're going to win that division. Internally, they were. I know they've had a number of injuries, but that's no excuse. They got Evans back. They got McMillan back, who was going to probably be their third receiver, but he had a neck injury. They've got just about everybody back. I know McCollum got hurt in this game. I believe it was a hip injury. But overall, there's no excuse for this thing. Now, saying that was a great game. If you stayed up to watch it, I mean, it was an exciting game. Again, they shouldn't have lost that. I'll admit it. I thought the Bucs would cruise in that game. But that's been the story, Kevin, of this league. Whether it's for fantasy purposes, wagering purposes. And I do my list on Monday, my Kaplan's trustworthy teams on Monday.
Yeah.
During Newswire with Craig Mish, and the Bucs were on it for a number of weeks, but they are struggling right now. It's just I didn't see this. I don't think anyone else has. But Kevin, as I throw it back to you, that's the story of this league this season. Talking to clubs recently, especially this week, if you can get in, you can make a run. There are no dominant teams this year, and that's the way the league likes it.
Yeah, that is a really, really good point, and I think then it kind of turns our attention to this weekend where there are so many stories we're going to be following, but I think we have a bit of an elimination game between two teams that are almost lucky they're not already eliminated in Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Yep.
Cincinnati needs to obviously win out and then get some help. Baltimore is still live for the division, certainly through the numbers, so they certainly still have some life to them. But both of these teams, Cap, are also very weird right now. Joe Burrow's comments all over the place about he's not having fun. Lamar Jackson every week, injury report, rest day, not looking like himself. What are you hearing, if anything, around these two teams?
All right, let's go to Baltimore. Lamar, you're right, Kevin. He's been hurt with hamstring and ankle injuries most of the season. Now, he was the healthiest he's been in weeks was this week. Okay, so he's going to be ready to go, no problem. But there's been something off with this football team. First, they were terrible for the first half on defense, right? Now, there was a week they were without 7 defensive starters. Of course you're going to struggle. They've kind of righted the ship on defense. Now, offensively, they've fallen off. The lack of explosive plays. Lamar in the run game hasn't worked, and that affects, by the way, Derrick Henry. Still been pretty solid. But offensively, they've been a disappointment. Let's call it like it is. That's why they're 6-7. Now, when they were 1-5, they were trying to be only the 5th team since 1990, 35 years, to make the playoffs after starting 1-5. If they don't win the division, they're not getting in. But for Cincinnati, I don't care if they're mathematically alive. They have no chance. Trey Hendrickson, the best defensive player now. They have zero chance. They have as much chance as you do to get in the playoffs, which is 0. So they're not getting in. And Burrow is just great. But their defense at times has been non-competitive. It's been a little bit better lately, but it's not good enough. That division this is another one where I thought the Steelers would be a little bit better than they are, and that, yes, they won last week. I picked Baltimore to win this division. They still might, but they're an underachieving team. But again, if you make the playoffs, and I know Lamar struggles in the playoffs. I've called him the Matt LaFleur of quarterbacks. Great in the regular season, not so great in the postseason. But they just got to make a run here. They're capable of doing it because, again, they won 5 in a row, and then you saw what has happened lately.
The thing is, Cap, what's so frustrating, I guess depending on who you are, and I know what you're saying about Cincinnati not having a chance, but Baltimore and Cincinnati would be far more threatening to make a run in the AFC if they were able to get there than Pittsburgh. No matter how open you think it is, nobody actually believes this Pittsburgh team is dangerous. I think right now the most likely situation is Pittsburgh hosts Buffalo, as maybe a near touchdown underdog, and then here we are again with this same Steelers situation where I don't know how you can fire Tomlin for never being bad, but at some point, Cap, doesn't something have to give?
Well, with Tomlin, it's real simple. If they don't make the playoffs, that'll mean 10 straight years without winning a playoff game, which is unheard of to be able to keep your job. Yeah. I'm not suggesting they should fire him. I don't call for anyone's job. That's not my point or my job to do. But I just know from talking to team presidents and general managers over the years, you got like 4 or 5 years to start winning in the playoffs. Marvin Lewis was part of the turnaround for Cincinnati, but he couldn't win the playoffs, so he got fired. Now, it's something we'll talk about, you and I, on whether it's game time decisions with PFT on Sunday or on a Saturday if we're doing playoffs. But we're going to talk about Tomlin's contract sooner or later because you can always trade a a head coach. You can do that, by the way. We've seen that over the years. John Gruden, hello.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of questions around Tomlin, and I'll just the Michigan job is a really, really big job, and I think they would love a splash hire, and I think Tomlin is that. And I don't think Pittsburgh wants to fire Mike Tomlin, so I just think it's interesting. Luckily for us, Adam Kaplan is going to stick around. We're going to get into Kenny Pickett's return to Philadelphia after the break right here on SportsGrid.
There are a million ways to make money on this. There really is, right? Like I sit back, we've given you a couple of ours that we've given you. I think they're all going to win, essentially. The gold one, the Google Views one. The only one I might not win, Cam, that I gave people was, will the U.S. government announce that aliens exist in 2026?
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here's the problem. When Joe Dumars blows it up and trades Zion, who is going to give them anything more than 25 cents on the dollar for a damaged goods superstar who misses significant time, who doesn't love the game, but is built like a freight train? Problems are in New Orleans, and I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions with you here on a Friday night. We are joined by NFL insider Adam Kaplan, and it is such a busy, busy time in the NFL. It's great to be able to have Cap here on a Friday. We'll, of course, talk to him on Sunday on Pro Football Today. And Cap, the Eagles host the Raiders in one of the most unique games for them all season long because obviously they need to win it. They've lost 3 games in a row. This is a football team who I don't even know if they had 3 losses over their, prior 25 games. So all of a sudden they lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But we talked a lot in the offseason about how tough the schedule was. And this is the first time all year they're a double-digit favorite. But they're playing their worst football of the year. So it's this fascinating combination we have. Kenny Pickett's back in the building, your stadium, I should say, for the first time, of course, since being with Philly last year. Cap, I want to leave it open-ended. What are you hearing around Sunday's game in Philadelphia?
Well, first of all, coming out of the Charger game on Monday night, obviously it's an unbelievably difficult loss. They got home. They landed around 8 a.m. on Tuesday, so they're on a short week. They're obviously tired, but they're feeling like they got a lot of confidence. It's really interesting because, Kevin, it's funny. They don't get to the red zone a lot, but they're one of the best red zone teams. But they kept turning it over. But the word around the club was that Hurts threw the ball exceptionally well. Yes, they had 5 turnovers. You can't excuse that. But not every turnover was on him. What I want to help folks understand is when you watch whatever team you follow, and your quarterback throws a lot of interceptions, and not always on him. Ball's deflected, the ball's thrown right, the guy dropped it or he bobbled it, or the defender hit it up in the air. Coaches, I'm told, grade each interception individually. They don't just, okay, five turnovers, all on the quarterback. That's not the way it works. But I'll tell you though, and this matters for totals. This means for fantasy, because I don't bet, but I will pick 4 or 5 games a week I like, and we talk about them on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I do play fantasy still a lot. And this is a game in Philly on Sunday. It'll be a 3rd straight wind game at Lincoln Financial Stadium. Gusts 28 to 30 mile an hour, 16 to 18 mile an hour winds. Gusts you never know in that stadium. I don't know if you've been there. They have what we call crosswinds. Jake Elliott's struggling. If you have him for fantasy, I would not be playing Jake Elliott. Although I think it's going to be so low, it could be like 19 to 6, something like that. I know the line at the number's 12.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all if the Raiders didn't score a touchdown. And Genti, listen, Mayer and Hampton's a more talented back. Genti is a power back who runs off contact. This is the National Football League. That doesn't work. If you've got him in fantasy in a dynasty league, I'm trading him. I don't want any parts of him.
Cap, I want to ask you about Kansas City. And again, some of this we'll get more into on Sunday.
Yeah.
Would you say what is going on with this team right now makes Andy Reid retiring this offseason more or less likely?
Knowing the way Andy thinks, I can't see him going out like this. I would say this. There is talk around the league like, with the next 2 years, it's probably going to be it for Andy. Mike, actually, it wouldn't be Matt Nagy would be the in-house replacement, but there could be some other guys. But Matt Nagy knows his offense; he can keep it going. He'd be the logical replacement. But yeah, I would still be surprised if he did it. I try to warn people and said the rumors of Travis Kelce was going to retire. I said on SportsGrid in January Kelsey's not going to leave like this. That won't happen, and he didn't. And Kelce, by the way, looks better than he did last season. But let me talk about the Chiefs here for a second. Because people wonder what the heck has happened here. Why do they have a losing record? It has nothing to do with injury. Absolutely nothing. I know lately they have had offensive line injuries, but it has nothing to do with why they've been such a disappointment. Brad Veach, their GM, is phenomenal. He's a top 3 GM, no question. 3-time Super Bowl winner, phenomenal. They did not have a good offseason. They missed on Christian Fulton, a cornerback who came over from the Chargers. He's a weekly inactive. They owe him $6 million fully guaranteed next season. They also got to move on from him. Their offensive line did not play as well as they thought. Remember, they traded Joe Thuney. They thought was done or a major regression. He's not. He's playing well with Chicago. Their pass rusher's not been there. Now, they played well last week, particularly in the second half against Houston. But the bottom line is both sides of the football been a disappointment. Mahomes struggled mightily last week. Rashee Rice has done a good job coming back, but he's had some drops. Both sides of the football, Kevin, have underachieved significantly. But listen, I'll say this. It's fair to bring up when is Andy going to retire, okay, as he approaches 70 years old. You can't coach forever. I remember when he came into Philly in his early 40s, and now he's getting close to 70 years old. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You can't coach forever. But this has been a major disappointment. If you and I rank the most disappointing teams, they would have to be number 1. I'd have to put them into number 1.
I almost would argue Baltimore, I think. But they're obviously right there. My only thing with the Ravens is, like, not winning the North. The Broncos and Chargers are some level of good, right? The fact that the Ravens are in the North and things have been what it is, and I think is wildly disappointing. I will say, too, Cap, though, a little bit of what I think this team is learning is winning every single one-score game and being like, that's totally fine. No, it's not. Stop playing one-score games. I think they might still be – I think they have only one win this year in a one-score game, which was the Colts game. Like, they lived in those games, and I know Mahomes is comfortable, but your margin for error is shorter when that's what you play in, and every decision becomes costlier and costlier. And I think they learned that lesson the hard way, Cap.
Kevin, for years, it's so funny because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, Mahomes could bring – you're like, okay, they're not going to lose this game. Mahomes is going to bring back – and he would. He can't do it this year. He's not having a good season. Very uneven. He was on a roll mid-season. Now it's going down again after a slow start. And they don't have the run game to sustain anything. Their offensive line's really banged up. The Chargers already beat them. The Chiefs used to own the Chargers.
Yeah.
Used to own them. They don't own them anymore. I know it's hard for LA teams to go, and they're an indoor team, to go outdoors and win in Arrowhead. As hard as it is to win in Arrowhead, they're not dominant at home anymore, the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun Sunday. We'll talk to Adam Kaplan then as well. Cap, we really appreciate it. Yeah. We're going to update your live board after the break right here on SportsGrid.
There are a million ways to make money on this. There really is, right? Like, I sit back. We've given you a couple of ours that we've given you. I think they're all going to win, essentially. The gold one, the Google Views one. The only one I might not win, Cam, that I gave people was, will the U.S. government announce that aliens exist in 2026?
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here's the problem. When Joe Dumars blows it up and trades Zion, who is going to give them anything more than 25 cents on the dollar for a damaged goods superstar who misses significant time, who doesn't love the game, but is built like a freight train? Problems are in New Orleans, and I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got to.
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're zoned in. We're watching it. We're tracking it. We got everything going on here. I mean, we have some Louisville, Texas A&M volleyball. We've got little Pistons, Hawks. Let's update your live board. What are we seeing right now? We've got Embiid and the Sixers up 5 early on the Pacers right now. VJ Edgecombe leading all scorers with 10. Paul George not far behind, though, with 8 of his own. I mentioned the game between Detroit and Atlanta. Right now, you've got 4 assists combined between Cade and Jalen Johnson. You'll absolutely take that midway through the opening quarter. Cade Cunningham looks really good right now. He's got 7. Nickeil Alexander-Walker actually leading all scorers with 9. We've got the Hornets and the Bulls in a bit of a back-and-forth affair right now. Brandon Miller action. He's gotten off to a really rough 0-for-4 start in that game. I'm going to hope he turns that around for a couple of lays that we have out there. And then you've got the Wizards up early on the Cavs. The Cavs are having one of the quietest seasons in the NBA. Where outside of local are there any Cav conversations, good or bad? They're 14-11, which is way beyond, of course, last year's pace. When they were 25 games into last season, they were 21-4. Okay, they started that year, if you'll remember, 17-1. You just don't hear anything. It doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel awful. I don't know. It's interesting right now in Cleveland. I wonder if they just let things run its course and then it's an off-season correction. Tough to tell. Certainly something worth keeping your eye on. As far as the college basketball world, the ranked action is just singular. It's UConn and Texas. You do have Army playing UMBC. May or not be on Yarnelli's card. An early lead for the dog there. Perhaps a good sign for this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, great college slate on Saturday. St. John's Iona, yes, I do have my investment in that with the Gales. I'll be in attendance in the Garden. We'll get there. We will. But you got Texas Tech, Arkansas. That's a top 20 matchup. Purdue with this awful Marquette team comes into town. I think that's just an interesting watch. You've got Louisville, Memphis, Illinois, Nebraska, Kentucky, Indiana. Late night, you've got Arizona, Alabama, Gonzaga, UCLA. So it is just a loaded card from a college basketball perspective. And I don't think that's a coincidence, right? That's a sport that is doing it right. First, no college football for real Saturday, and they just step up to the plate. And they give you a all-day-long menu. Really, really nice job. As far as the college football goes this weekend, that'll feature in our GTD State University. You know what? Let's help the people here, okay? We'll toss some of this out. We'll re-rack it again at the back end there. We've got your Friday 5 as well. You got 2 college hoops picks, 2 college football picks. Chris is going to back Heidenreich for an anytime touchdown on Navy. Sam's going to play the over 38.5. No action in the Washington-Boise State game, which actually I think is one of the more appealing bowl games we have. Look, I'm not trying to be mean, but then like par for the course of what this bowl season looks like. Of course, it's early and buried as one of the first games. It's just very weird. It's very interesting because if someone says K-Dub is downgrading the Bulls this year because he's upset or protecting Notre Dame, I understand why you're saying that. That's really not it. I last year bet every single bowl game. I may do it again this year. But I just look at these matchups, and where is your eye? Like, yes, please. Like, again, like Vanderbilt, Iowa, that is not a good matchup. USC Duke, Mensa Mayava, that's a 68.5 total. And that's a meet me at the window, each QB for 303. I don't know, man. Hey, man, get excited. Houston, LSU. What? UVA, Mizzou. Come on. What? Like San Diego State, North Texas is one of your better games. I don't know. I just think the combinations, they really dropped the ball. We didn't give you the college hoops picks. Oh, those are still in back pocket. We're going to talk about some NFL action coming up this weekend after the break on SportsGrid.
there are a million ways to make money on this. There really is. Right? Like, I sit back. We've given you a couple of ours that we've given you. I think they're all going to win, essentially. The gold one, the Google Views one. The only one I might not win, Cam, that I gave people was, will the U.S. government announce that aliens exist in 2026?
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here's the problem. When Joe Dumars blows it up and trades Zion, who is going to give them anything more than 25 cents on the dollar for a damaged goods superstar who misses significant time, who doesn't love the game, but is built like a freight train? Problems are in New Orleans, and I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
It's got
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you on a Friday night with probably the best Sunday slate we've had all season. And it's also nice that it's not just front-loaded. Sometimes it's like, oh, great, the worst 4 o'clock slate of the year. Not the case. As far as games, awesome. Bengals, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers, Pats, Bills, Broncos, Packers, Rams, Lions, Phillip Rivers, whatever that is. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here to sink your teeth into. And we haven't talked to Brady Cannon yet this week, so this is a really blank canvas as we bring in Brady. Brady, it is always great to talk to you. I will start, usually on a Friday, we get to the what have you guys locked in. I just want to start with a weird one that if I had to bet, you probably stayed away from. Phillip Rivers. I have no idea how you adjust Daniel Jones to Phillip Rivers. I think this, if Daniel Jones is healthy, hard to say, is maybe 6 or 7. I mean, the Colts have been booked very, very strongly, if not less. I mean, this is but I don't know what you do with Phillip Rivers. He hasn't played football in like a half a decade. What have you done with this game?
Nothing.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Not going to touch it. Now, if I was playing Survivor or something like that, yeah, I'd love to have the Seahawks available. Here in Circa Survivor, only 10 entries remain. That ticket you bought over the summer for $1,000 is now worth $1.87 million. My goodness, there's a lot going on here. You talk about a big Sunday slate. Yeah, for those 10 entries, it certainly is, but nobody has the Seahawks left. Other than that, no, I don't want to do anything. I love Phillip Rivers. I went to school in San Diego, really enjoyed. I've always been a Charger fan. Dan Fouts are just always been a fun team to watch. I hope he does great. But will he do great? Against that defense, when I crunch all the numbers, and these numbers are obviously have nothing to do with Phillip Rivers or even Riley Leonard. They're all Daniel Jones, indicated numbers here from what the Colts have been doing the entire season. And I come out with the Seahawks -4.5.
Yep.
So is it a 9-point adjustment for Phillip Rivers? It might be, 13.5 or something like that. Sounds pretty accurate to me, but no, I'm not going to get invested.
It's interesting, though, because if it is a 9-point adjustment, it's because Phillip Rivers, and that number the Phillip Rivers number will adjust game to game, but it would suggest that he is probably then as bad a quarterback as we will see all year, this week's version of him. Because Daniel Jones isn't a rock star quarterback, right? And the version of Daniel Jones he's replacing isn't the early season version of Daniel Jones. It's such an interesting game. It's such an interesting spot. Again, there's a lot of interesting spots, Brady. So let me ask, is there one that you've, you and the guys really were all in alignment on?
It feels like everybody likes the Denver Broncos, and myself included. I was, surprised to see that they were an underdog in this game, and I think that's the reaction for most people here. This team, what do they have? 10 or 11 wins already on the season. They've won a number of games in a row. Typically, they're at their best when they're at home and in the role of home favorite, and here they are in the role of home underdog. At first, it looked a little fishy to me. It's like, wait, what's going on here? And I felt like, am I just jumping on board with the masses here and being reactionary? What am I missing? But, when we got through it and talked it through with our team on the Las Vegas Football Contest show, we ended up, joining the party and jumping on the Broncos here. And I tell you, one thing that kind of got me off of being confused was the scheduling spot for the Packers is not good. They go from a very emotional win over their arch rival Chicago Bears, and the Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur thing. And, that was a huge game. And then guess who they have next week? They go to Chicago to play the Bears again. And sandwiched in between here, they have an out-of-conference game on the road at, a mile high in elevation, at a venue that they rarely ever visit. So I think this is a really tough spot for Green Bay to get up for this game. And if you look at what they've done on the road this year, it hasn't been great. They've lost to the AFC already on the road this year in the Cleveland Browns. Now they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and they beat the New York Giants. But last time I checked, those guys don't play defense the way the Denver Broncos do. So I like the Broncos. I think they win the game outright and keep it going.
It's so interesting because I think the winner of this game gets entered into a new conversation as well. I think a win here, Green Bay, is discussed as it's them or the Rams for best team in football. I think a win for Denver, they just become the AFC favorites. I think people then kind of throw their hands up and go, you know what? That's the top team. They've got the wins. They've got the defense. Knicks is good enough. Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. I think it's a real market mover game. And I know that probably doesn't impact as much, how you're going to play it. But I think this is, of all these, again, really, really big games, you're looking at two teams in Green Bay and Denver that are obviously very safe in terms of will they make the playoffs, but how they will be seated, how they will be positioned, it is incredibly important. And what's interesting is when you take that into go ahead, Brady.
Well, I was just going to say, to my point about the scheduling spot, next week is really more important for the Packers. Playing the Bears, a second meeting with the Chicago Bears, that's really for the division, right?
Yeah.
If the Bears win that game, then they've got a shot to win the division. If the Packers win it, it's all but done. Also, Josh Jacobs, a little banged up. And, one of my partners on the contest show, James Salinas, brought up, and I think, he asked me about it. And I said, yeah, I totally agree. That offense seems to kind of run as Josh Jacobs goes. We saw Jordan Love really pick apart and expose the Chicago Bears defense. We know they're not any good, but they force turnovers, and that's really how they've been surviving all season. When they weren't forcing turnovers, they get picked apart. But you've got to get Josh Jacobs going in order, I think, for Jordan Love to get the passing game going. And you're now going up against the number one run defense in the league. They sack the quarterback more than anybody else. And again, what's on deck for next week and what just happened last week, tough spot for Green Bay.
You have this matchup between Buffalo and New England. That is one that I think Brady and I have talked a lot about this year. A 1.5 point spread where it probably doesn't matter, but maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's not. Were you surprised at all to see Buffalo the slight favorite in this game?
No, not at all. I actually thought it might be more. But when I crunch all the numbers, I come out to pretty much exactly where it is. It's a toss-up. I come up with a pick-em. Now, the numbers could be a little bit skewed on the New England Patriots because of, the ongoing narrative that we've heard for a few weeks now, and that's the schedule that they've played. It absolutely has been a weak schedule. Their two biggest wins of the entire season are probably one in the Buffalo Bills, and I can't even remember the other one off the top of my head. They have not beaten many very good teams at all. It's been a bunch of below average teams, really. So we'll see. This is interesting. Look ahead. It was one of the spots I really wanted to go to and felt that the Bills were going to avenge that loss from earlier in the season, but I'm not so sure. This is another game, Kevin, that we're going to stay away from. I'm looking forward to watching it, but I don't have a real strong feeling backing one team or another.
The one thing, though, Brady, when I see this number, it looks to me that they did not in any way care that New England is coming off of a bye. Unless this line would have been a full field goal, if that wasn't like a late season bye is valuable. That is a huge advantage in terms of rest versus your opponent.
I don't disagree with you. My partner, Mike Pritchard, the former player, brought up a great point on the contest show. A late bye week is great for older players. This is a young team that just wants to go out there and eat again. A bye could have been a bad thing for a team that's won 10 in a row.
That's interesting. And maybe, I don't know how the books price it in. And again, maybe they just didn't at all. There's other spots where it feels like they did. It's very interesting. We'll keep talking about this late with Brady after the break on.
There are a million ways to make money on this. There really is, right? Like, I sit back. We've given you a couple of ours that we've given you. I think they're all going to win, essentially. The gold one, the Google Views one. The only one I might not win, Cam, that I gave people was, will the U.S. government announce that aliens exist in 2026?
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here's the problem. When Joe Dumars blows it up and trades Zion, who is going to give them anything more than 25 cents on the dollar for a damaged goods superstar who misses significant time, who doesn't love the game, but is built like a freight train? Problems are in New Orleans, and I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
I
think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we've got ourselves a really fun Sunday coming up here. We're talking about it with Brady Cannon, who does an excellent job going through all these games. Brady, remind people when they can catch the contest show that you guys do right here on SportsGrid.
Right. The first airing is typically Friday night, right around midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. It should be out here pretty soon where you get all your podcasts, YouTube, and that type of thing. You can go to footballcontestshow.com and find everything you need right there. In fact, it is already up at Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But the video version, YouTube will be up a little bit later. And then, of course, like you say, right here on SportsGrid, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. And it airs really throughout the weekend. And, for those that are playing contests, that deadline comes up Saturday evening. But again, we're breaking down all the games. So if you're looking just to make personal bets aside from contests, it's valuable in that way as well.
100%. That's, again, it's why we always have Brady on. Tell me another game, Brady, though, that you guys are close to, if not settled on, being one of the picks this week.
We're in a position, Kevin, where we're doing pretty well. We're not in the money yet, but we're by no means out of it. So we're kind of in that position where we obviously have to pick winners, but we have to pick unpopular winners. We can't just try to hold serve here and maintain our position. We need to advance. And so we have to pick some weird games. And one of those weird ones we selected was the Arizona Cardinals catching 9.5. They're catching 9.5 in the contest. I've seen some stores go to 10, which I'm excited about because the Texans could become a very popular play in the contest for guys that are chasing closing line value. And I'd be just fine with that. I think this line is way too high. When did all of a sudden the Texans become elite and worthy of double-digit favoritism? I mean, I think their offense is the reason Kansas City stayed in the game last week, and it's the reason that the Arizona Cardinals will stay in this game here this week. Arizona tends to play very close games. They've played the Packers close. They've played a number of different teams. If you look up and down their schedule, really, it was just the Rams last week that blew them out, and that's the Rams. I think the Rams are much different than the Houston Texans. I think this game is somewhere between 4 and 6 as far as what the spread should be. I don't know where we get to 10. And look at what the Texans have done as of late. You have a great win over Buffalo. You have a great win over division rival Indianapolis, back when Daniel Jones was still healthy. You have a great win last week. They slay their nemesis for years in the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Oh, now, okay, we get your break and we get to play the Cardinals. I don't think there's the same intensity and sense of urgency going into this one as they've had for now 3 weeks in a row. And I think the line is too high. So, yeah, I'll take an ugly dog here and land on the Cardinals and see if we can get lucky.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like to look at the games before Sunday night happens, and you knew there was going to be some influence off of Sunday Night Football. And I think if you wanted Arizona, that game couldn't have gone any better. It just could not have gone any better if you wanted to bet Arizona, where you go, huge result for the Texans. Defense looks horrifying, but there's still some issues there with Houston offensively that could be taken advantage of. And I totally see what you're saying. Did you have any strong feelings on the Sunday night matchup between Dallas and Minnesota? Maybe a little silly here, but I was surprised that Dallas, was sitting 6.5 early week. I know maybe it's come down a bounce, but I thought it'd be over a field goal. I didn't think it would be as high as it was.
Well, I'm right there with you. I made Dallas 3.5. And Dallas feels like the right side here. They're a different team at home. They've got extra rest. Minnesota's bad. I think we know that. You and I spoke last week. We were actually on the Vikings. I love that spot for them. I hated the spot for the Commanders. Everything worked out perfectly. Now I think it's back to reality for J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. They're just not a very good team. I expect Dallas to win the game. When teams win the game, they typically cover the spread. But you're right. It does feel inflated. And when I crunch all my numbers, I come up with Minnesota as being the side. Not a 6-point number in favor of Dallas. But we're going to end up staying away. I think we all kind of lean Dallas here, but we found some better spots. Dallas will also probably be, I think, probably a popular pick. If you wanted to go contrarian and to your point, what we're talking about here, Minnesota maybe, catching a few too many points here, it could be a good contrarian play in the contest because despite what they did last week, I don't think there are a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans out there thinking this team really has a puncher's chance. They're just not very good.
I want to ask you a contest-wide question, Brady. 4 double-digit favorites this week, right? Philly against Vegas. We talked already about Seattle and Indianapolis. Then you also have the Jags and the Jets, which is interesting, and then the Niners against the Titans. In a contest, maybe the answer is it's split. do you often see more picks towards taking those amount of points, which is what I would guess, or actually laying the big number?
I think the sharper players typically try and take the points, but it's hard to say. And I think this week specifically is very unique. I could see people laying it with the 49ers off of a bye week. I could see people laying it with Seattle against Phillip Rivers. The Eagles and the Raiders. What do you think about the Raiders last week? And oh boy, they covered the spread in a weird fashion. Are they going to do that again? You know that. And how can you really be a big fan of backing the Eagles in that offense? I think the weirdest one though is the Jaguars and the Jets. This is an awful scheduling spot for Jacksonville. They come off of a huge win against the Indianapolis Colts last week. Next week, they travel to Denver. And then after that, they go back on the road to Indianapolis again. And wedged here in between is the lowly Jets. If Brady Cook was not at quarterback, I would love the Jets in this spot. But that just scares me, what he is able to do or not able to do. And obviously, this line is skewed because of that as well. But I don't know. If I was really going to go rogue here, the Jets might be a play taking all those points.
I was begging Justin Fields to be healthy for this game. Begging.
Right.
Begging.
Be a great play on the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Because not with Brady Cook.
I know, as someone who stepped up and gave Brosmer a chance, I don't know how I feel about these super unknowns now.
How'd that work out?
Not great. Brady, appreciate it. We'll close it out here on SportsGrid.
There are a million ways to make money on this. There really is, right? Like I sit back, we've given you a couple of ours that we've given you. I think they're all going to win, essentially. The gold one, the Google Views one. The only one I might not win, Cam, that I gave people was, will the U.S. government announce that aliens exist in 2026?
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here's the problem. When Joe Dumars blows it up and trades Zion, who is going to give them anything more than 25 cents on the dollar for a damaged goods superstar who misses significant time, who doesn't love the game, but is built like a freight train? Problems are in New Orleans, and I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's get settled here. We're gonna lock this thing out on a Friday night. Great to have you guys with us here. As always, appreciate Brady stopping by, Coach Bowden, Adam Kaplan as well. We'll update the live board. We'll get our picks in. Let's do GTD State University quickly here. All right, because we mentioned the Heinrich. I said Heidenreich before as an old wrestler. Eli Heinrich for the touchdown is Chris's best bet. Sam's gonna play the over in Army Navy. College hoops wise, AJ is gonna play Bama. On the money line against Arizona. Really excited for that game. I'm on Iona plus 26.5. I was always betting this game. I was always betting Iona. I knew this number would be around here. That bet's in. That bet was always going to go in. I'll be there. I can't wait. Maybe St. John's is just unbelievably dialed in. But this is the most important game Iona will play maybe all year until the MAC tournament. So to get 26.5 and potentially your game of the year, that's way too tempting to pass up for me. So we're going to back the Gales. By the way, total's $1.60. If scoring is coming that easily, then I think the back door's open for us, okay? Even if St. John's extends, also, obviously, there's a no sweat bet on Gales. Mooney line, 40-1. Don't be scared to add it to your card. What's this live board saying right now? 2-point game with the Sixers leading the Pacers and Embiid starting to get going. Edgecombe still leading all scores with 15. McConnell right now carrying the load on the Pacers side with 13 of his own. How about the Wizards up a little bit right now on the Cavs, 50-49. C.J. McCollum getting going here a little bit now in quarter number 2. Evan Mobley leading all scorers with 14 in that basketball game. We've got the Jalen Johnson, Cade Cunningham best bet combination for assists. Jalen Johnson right now is at 4. Cade Cunningham at 5 in the first quarter. So that is off to just a fantastic start as the Pistons are up 11 with more than 7 minutes to go here in quarter number 2. None of those 3 guys that AI Chris were assigned have played just yet. Yarnell's on Eastern Washington plus the 3.5. He just rooted in an Army outright, so I know he's excited about that. Texas UConn under for AJ in the ranked matchup featuring number 5 UConn. I played a UConn team total over 79.5, so we'll be rooting that in. Maybe we can thread the needle there for AJ's best bet and my action in that game. The other NBA game that's still live right now is Hornets Bulls as Charlotte is up 45-42. Con can nibble with a great game right now, 14-3-4. That is where we sit. If you're on the ice tonight, it's pretty light. It's only 2 games. Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks are in St. Louis as very slight favorites. That'll get going in about probably 10 minutes time, and then it's the Mammoth and the Kraken going in Utah as the Mammoth are a slight favorite in that game. By the way, just call my attention because we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but the number on Colorado at home against the defending champs, and I mean the Avs just destroyed them. 6-2, McKinnon, goal and assist. They just destroyed them. So, this Avs team right now is certainly looking to make a statement on a nightly basis. They have 51 points right now. There is only one other team in the whole league that has more than 40. Now, it happens to be in their same division with the Dallas Stars, but their goal differential is plus 52, which is double that number at Dallas. So it's just been a dominant start for the Avs. How about your Friday 5? What a 5. What a 5. Give me Jamar Chase over 90.5 receiving yards. No T. Higgins. No reason to think that Chase can't go out there and go for $150. I'll play Chase through every number. Involved, if you will, a little bit on the pick 6 that flipped that game. It's just a Chase spot. You and I both know it. Saquon, anytime touchdown. Chris has been eyeing this up since the target player props. He's going to play at minus 120. You may even get better as the week goes on. Yarnell's been eyeing up the James Cook prop. Pat's run defense has been struggling a little bit. And AJ comes over the top with the Bills' money line there. So it's interesting. I think it's a decent Bills spot myself. I'm just surprised by the number. It's a no play for me. You could sell me, though, on the Pats being a great teaser spot if you're going to play it. It could be a good teaser week. I don't play. I played teasers years ago. I stopped just because, whatever. It was best for me at the time. Maybe we go back. Maybe we don't. Mystery man or woman. Raiders plus 12.5. Of every single mystery man pick we've had this year, this one made me laugh the hardest. I might even root it in. We'll see. In-game live is next.